All right, and now we're going to talk about something that we talked about in the news. It's Hateful Eight's 70 millimeter filming.
That's right.
So what we're going to talk about, I brought it to you earlier, it was 3 different facets to this conversation. 70 millimeter versus 35 millimeter versus digital.
Which is basically the 3 options you have for making a professional film. Probably in the last 50 years, those have been your 3 options. So go ahead and explain the difference between them.
All right, so the difference is that 70 millimeter is what was original, like back in the day when you wanted to use widescreen film, you used 70 millimeters. 35 is more commonly used now, and then of course digital has just been recently starting to take over, and it's kind of it's becoming the workhorse of Hollywood.
Recently, as in the last 5 years.
5 to 7 years. So 70 millimeter is kind of what they use. They blow everything up to be 70 millimeter when they're going to put it in an IMAX theater. 35 millimeter is just pretty much any other theater, and then digital, everybody's going to digital projection screens, so you can basically, digital format is you can do whatever you want with it, just make it in the format and it will work.
Here's my thoughts on 70 millimeter as far as Tarantino using it for his film. I'm having a hard time understanding why. Because of this. If you're looking at the financial and practical aspects of digital versus film, we'll call it film and digital, not talk about all 3 at once. But digital wins out hard because it's cheaper, it's more productive to use, it's smaller, you can get better shots with it, all this stuff. So if you take all that stuff, because if you put the practical in there, digital is going to win every time. Let's just take that out just to make the argument more fun, okay? And let's look at the art form. All right, well, I think about this. There are digital cameras now that do almost the exact color contrast, color richness as film. I mean, you can barely tell. The film is a little bit darker. The darker is a little bit richer. But even then, some would argue that the digital film, it goes dark, but you can still see detail. So some people might like the digital form of it better. Yeah. So I would almost say sometimes the digital could be better in some arguments. So just on the film aspect, just on the video aspect. So when you look at that, you say, okay, so then why the heck would you use film? Well, there's 2 things I can think of. One would be creative, artistic, and one would be nostalgia. Those are the only 2 I can think of, which aren't real great for spending millions of extra dollars. So I'll just talk about the artistic, and I'll let you talk about nostalgia. The artistic form is this. Is there anything that is there another art form that can do the same thing, like I can compare this to? So, and I'm going to pick painting. So you can take a picture and you can create it digitally on a computer, right? And then you can take that picture and paint it on an oil canvas with oil painting. Hang them both up on the wall and look at them. Now, has the digital process recreated the oil painting process? Does it look the same? Does it have the same result?
No.
Negative. Because oil paintings have minuscule lines and crevices and valleys, and so when you light them, they bring them to life and they show different things. You cannot create oil painting digitally because you just create the same picture, print it off, and then it's a flat piece of art on the wall. Now, granted, there's great digital art, but it's not the same as oil. It cannot be recreated.
Correct.
Film is different because they've figured out a way digitally to literally recreate what can be done in film. So, Steven, would you like to talk about
nostalgic? Yeah, absolutely. The only reason why, in my opinion, because you and I agree that art form is an art form, whatever, but film is going to be the same. It's going to look the same on a screen.
Right.
So there's no lighting technique that you can do to make difference. The nostalgic part of it is that I'm actually going to take the time. I'm going to do practical effects. I'm going to film it on this film. I'm going to actually do it and put chemicals on it and everything. It's an actual art form. It is a craft.
Right.
That somebody actually has to put together, and then they edit it together.
It's
they
like
splice
making it. It's
right.
It's more like making pottery or building a wooden bench.
Right. And when you do stuff like that, I mean, like the focus of the filmmaker at that time is, how am I going to do this shot to make it appear that I'm doing it this way? That's how film works. That used to work anyway. And when you start thinking about that, it changes your storytelling. It changes everything. So, and then you're going to splice it all together. You don't have the effects, the computer generated effects that you can just throw on there.
Stuff. No lighting changing.
So it changes.
No color correction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It changes your storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
When you take away all of that stuff and you can just put it onto the palette and say, okay, I want to do this, and then the computer can fix it here and there, it changes. So the only reason why Tarantino, and I'm going to use Tarantino because that's what brought it up, was Tarantino's doing this, in my opinion, only because he's Tarantino and he wants to do it differently. There's no nostalgic factor.
Gimmick.
It's a gimmick, exactly. Because he's not going to
It's not true film.
It's not.
He's going to film it on film.
Yep.
And then he's going to make it.
And then he's going to digitize it, put computer-generated effects in them, because they all do.
Color correct it.
Yeah. And then he's going to put it onto a digital format and send it out to the wide release. Now, they might reprint it after the fact onto a 70mm film to show. Ooh, but guess what? It's no longer.
It's just digital printed onto film.
So nostalgic purposes, I have all the respect in the world. If somebody wanted to go and film something in a film with all practical effects, splice it, cut it up, edit it, all on there, redo it onto a film, and then show it to me, you absolutely believe that I'm going to enjoy that.
That's art.
But you are not going to see somebody do that and then do a wide release of it.
Right, because you can't. I mean,
no, we all have digital projectors now. We don't have... I mean, think about it. 98% of the people who watch movies don't go to the movies to see it. They go to their living room. That's put on a digital format, either Blu-ray or you download it off of iTunes, Android,
last time
or whatever.
I checked, you can't download film onto your...
That's what I'm saying. So the nostalgic factor is there, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 2 for me, because I'd rather you do digital, have the same quality, if not better, and get the better shots, get the better computer generations, get that color. I want you to be cooler and better.
We'll leave audio out of this whole discussion.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother discussion. That's another 20-minute discussion for us.
So I think it's a gimmick, but I say digital.
Absolutely.